name is Ash Trull, Trull. I'm here in opposition to National Grid's proposed liquefaction facility that's being reviewed by the CRMC tonight. I'm a Providence resident, as well as a local business owner, a member of Showing Up for Racial Justice Rhode Island, and White Noise Collective. I'm an environmental organizer with a degree in global environmental studies, and I want to just emphasize a few points about as a concerned member of this community. I don't want to be redundant, but I just was wanting to remind us all why we're even here today, just pulling from the CRMC website, that the Rhode Island General Assembly passed legislation to create the CRMC because the legislative findings recognize the paramount importance that the coastal resources provide to the social and economic welfare of the state, and charge the CRMC with the explicit policy, and this is a quote, to preserve, protect, develop, and where possible restore the coastal resources of this state for this and succeeding generations, through comprehensive and coordinated long-range planning and management designed to produce the maximum benefit for society from such coastal resources. And that the preservation and restoration of ecological systems shall be the primary guiding principle on which the environmental alteration of coastal resources shall be measured, judged, and regulated. So, what I take from this is that the CRMC was created to consider and defend the social welfare of residents of Rhode Island, to consider and defend the rights and health of future generations, and to consider and defend the health and preservation of waterfront ecosystems, of which humans are a part. And I want to speak to what my fellow attendees said at the previous hearing, that the CRMC really needs to be considering and defending the health of the people most impacted, especially because we don't get to make a decision about this. We have to depend on the council to represent us and our aides. And admittedly, I'm a bit shocked that the committee is still trying to rush this process by saying that you will definitely be voting tonight, even though you're hearing a lot of powerful testimony. It doesn't make it sound like you're actually taking the time to process and reflect on that testimony. You're trying to rush it to vote. And I don't think it should be our responsibility to shorten the amount of time we're speaking or to speak quickly so that other people can speak. I think that's the responsibility of the council to make sure everyone has a chance to speak. This is a public hearing and a public process. And this is the only chance we get to actually weigh in on what's going on with this project. So I ask that you respect this process and allow us all the chance to speak.
Let's go.
And I want to mention there's at least 6 other people signed up on the additional sheet over by the door, and there's probably other people in the room who haven't gotten a chance to sign up yet too. So I want to say that at the last hearing, a member of the CRMC told us that the CRMC is preempted by FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, so that they cannot review this project based on safety, health, need, or siting. We were informed last hearing that the CRMC's review is limited to coastal effects and enforceable policies. As someone who lives in a coastal city, who has friends and family who also live in this coastal city, who frequently travels within a quarter-mile of the proposed facility, and who also breathes the air surrounding the facility, I would argue that my health, my safety, and the health and safety of all in this community are a coastal effect. So, I'm wondering, what is the boundary between the contaminated soil on site of the proposed facility and the body of the workers who have to clean it up, move it, and deal with to remediate the soil? And what is the line between the toxic emissions being released by a facility among the others that already exist and the lungs of those who breathe the air in the miles that surround it? It is actually not possible to draw a clean line 200 feet into the coastline and say that that's the only thing you consider within those bounds, when the things within those bounds actually have impacts far beyond that line. And so I know I just have a minute left, and I also did some research and was looking at the CRMC program and saw that actually National Grid is clearly and blatantly violating some of the requirements that the CRMC needs to consider, specifically around what previous speakers have said about storm damage and mitigating the risks and endangerment of lives due to storm damage, and I don't think that's that would be true with this proposal and this plan. So I guess in closing, I would say I'm not particularly interested in seeing the responsibility of this decision passed off so that CRMC can, be clean of this process. I think you're a crucial part of this whole process and this proposal. And I know that we've seen along the way with this proposal that there's been a lot of willingness to bend the rules or reinterpret policy in order to protect when there are profits, when there's an interest in profits for people like National Grid. And so I also know there are people who can rise to the responsibility of their appointed position and figure out what they need to do to fulfill their duty to their neighbors, to their constituents, and to the public. And so I'm not asking you to bend the rules on this one in reviewing this proposal. I'm asking you to fulfill your written mandate. And so I guess, in closing, I just want to ask of you again where you want to be in the future if and when something disastrous happens with this facility. It's clearly a danger and a risk to all of us. And I'm pretty certain that you do not want to be looking back at this decision saying that you could have done something differently that could have prevented danger and harm happening to people in the community. And just to re-emphasize, we are a coastal community. These are coastal impacts. And thank you for hearing my testimony.